In this video, we are going to take a look at what happens when we want to get into point slope form, but they don't give me the point and the slope. Instead, they just give me 2 points. But that's absolutely okay, because I know that if I've been given 2 coordinates or 2 points, I can find the slope using my slope formula. And don't forget that that is slope equals, or m equals, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Once I know the slope, I get to pick if I want to use the first or the second coordinate. They're both the same. Both of these coordinates are on the exact same line with the same slope. Remember, slope is constant. So we get to choose. So let's take a look here at number 1. Let's get started. Let's first just find the slope. So m equals y1 minus y, or y2 minus y1. So negative 1 minus 7 over, now I'm going to do my x's. So that would be 1 minus negative 3. Well, 1 minus 7 is negative 8. And 1 minus negative 3. Well, minus a negative is plus a positive. So that's like 1 plus 3, which is 4. And negative 8 divided by 4. Remember, we must always simplify these fractions. And this happens to divide out evenly, so my slope is negative 2. Well, now that I know my slope, I get to pick which point. Let's just say we're going to use the first one on this one. So we're going to use our first coordinate of negative 3 is 7. And we'll write this out. So y minus y1 for me here, so I'm using 7, equals my slope. And then in parentheses, the x minus the x coordinate. Now that's not simplified again. Minus a negative, this really should be plus a positive. So let's rewrite this. Y minus 7 equals negative 2, and then in parentheses I would have x plus 3. Let's look at another example. Number 3, I have 2 coordinates. With 2 coordinates, I really need a slope. That's what everything we've been talking about is slope. So let's get a slope out of these 2. So m equals y2 minus y1. So negative 6 minus negative 1 over 4 minus 2. Now minus a negative, that's just addition. So negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5. 4 minus 2 is 2. So my slope here is negative 5 over 2, or negative 5 halves. That cannot be simplified. So I'm ready to put this into my point slope formula. So y, let's use our first coordinate. Y minus negative 1 equals my slope. And then in parentheses, I need to take the x minus the x I'm going to use. So x minus 2. I am going to rewrite to get y plus 1 equals negative 5 halves. And then in parentheses, x minus 2. Number 5. First things first, I need a slope. So m equals negative 5 minus 1 over 0 minus negative 8. Well, that's just plus 8. So negative 5 minus 1 is negative 6. And 0 plus 8 is 8. They're both even, so they'll both divide by 2. So my final slope is negative 3/4. On this one, we'll go ahead and use the first coordinate, and we'll write it out. I've got y minus 1 equals negative 3/4. In parentheses, I'll have x minus negative 8. I will simplify that down, so y minus 1 equals negative 3/4. And in parentheses, I would have x plus 8. All right, I've turned my page here. So I'm going to go ahead and I need to find the slope, right? So m equals. And then I'm going to use one of the coordinates. On this one, I'm actually going to use the second coordinate. So I'm going to use the second coordinate on 7, 9, 11, and 13. I tell you what, how about you pause the video, you try 7, 9, 11, and 13, finding the slope, and then when you plug it into the point slope formula, use the second coordinate. All right, here for number 7, our slope was 4 over 3. We can simplify that 16 out of 12. And then we just plug that in. Again, I use the second coordinate because they're all on the same line. I can really use any point I would like. Just make sure that when you're answering questions that if it asks you specifically for the first coordinate or the second coordinate, that you always use the one that they ask you for. If they don't ask you, Either will work. You can also just use the first one if that's the one you like. So y minus 2 equals 4/3, and then x minus 3 is in parentheses. For number 9, my slope was -1/2. I plugged that in and I had y minus 2 equals -1/2, and then in parentheses I have x minus 6. Number 11, my slope is -3/4. To write that out, I'd have y minus 2 equals -3/4, and then in parentheses x minus 0. That is absolutely point slope form. I just simplified it down saying I don't really need a minus 0, so that'd be y minus 2 equals -3/4 x. And then number 13, my slope is -4. So y minus -1, so that's really y plus 1 equals -4, and then in parentheses I have x minus 2. So I can always take point slope form if I've been given 2 coordinates. Those 2 coordinates simply go into the slope formula to give me the slope. Once I know the slope, I need one slope with one coordinate to get set up in point slope.